All right. So since this is our first, class, it's not really gonna be a lot, right? It's just gonna basically be about just introductions and things that we're gonna be talking about, right? I'm just briefly gonna be going through things that we're gonna be talking about. And then we also go through setups that I think, right? Setups for this week basically. All right. I'm just gonna take everything off. And then mostly, right, we're gonna be trading with smart money concepts and we'll be using demand and supply. And I hope you guys watched the video on demand and supply, right? Because that is exactly what we're gonna be using, right? Um, let's see. So the things that we're gonna be talking about is first of all, we're gonna be talking about liquidities, right? We're gonna be talking about order blocks, we're gonna be talking about demand and supply, like I just said. And we're gonna be using WWA. I don't know how many of you guys have watched, those concepts, but that is what we're gonna be using most of the time, right? It basically talks about how to use the 1 minute time frame, right? And then we're not gonna be trading basically on the 1 minute time frame, but we'll be using the 1 minute time frame, the 3 minute time frame, 15-minute time frame to find early entries, right? Before the move actually starts. So what I mean by this is, before we have any move to the downside or any move to the upside, right? There is a lot of things that actually happen. So basically, you could have price, forming some sort of consolidation around this region, right? Before you have this whole push to the downside. Okay. So the thing that is actually forming around this region, you can actually get early entry around this area, right? Before this whole move actually happened. And then what is the advantage of getting an early entry, right? So basically, if you get an early entry, what happens is that if price goes down like this and then your entry is all the way here, right? You can actually move your stop loss to entry, and then this is going to be what risk free. So basically, you just let your trade run. Anything that happens here, right? It's not really going to affect you. Let's say you have price making a lot of consolidations around this region, right? I'm actually going to use this as an example so you can actually see what I'm talking about. So we had this zone, right, being our point of interest where we were expecting a sell trade, right? Now, within this area, right, once price hit our demand zone, what are we doing? We are looking for what? That type of market structure, which we are not talking about that type of market structure right now, but we're going to be talking about that, right? And what we'll be doing is within this area, if you guys can actually see, right, we have a lot of consolidation happening around this area, meaning price is what trying to what go to the downside. And this is also what our point of interest where we are looking to do sell. Now, once price hit this point of interest where we are looking to sell, what do we look for? We go on the lower time frame, see what type of structure, right, is forming around this region before we take what our entries. And then in this course, we will actually be talking and we'll be speaking more about structures, right? Because structures are actually key, and then it helps us, know exactly where the market is going to go. If you have any questions, you can ask, right, or type it, whichever way that you prefer. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just briefly going to go through the demand and supply that um, we spoke about. Okay, so let me see if I actually pause it. All right, so this is the course, right? And then since we already know and you guys have already watched this, we're not going to be going through this stuff, right? We're just going to go straight to I think this side, right? So remember what I said, we'll be using demand and supply to trade. and then we're using order blocks. And since this is, our first meeting, we're not going to be talking a whole bunch of things. It's just going to be just, general knowledge about these type of things, right? So demand and supply, demand and supply. What exactly is demand and supply, right? Just as the word says, right? Demand means buying, and then supply means what, selling. You are supplying, you are giving someone the right demand, you are demanding buying, right? So this is just a retail concept where we actually have a resistance level, and there's been our confirmation for what, a sell trade. We put our stop loss here, and then we get what, taken out. And then when we actually start talking about liquidity, right, I'll explain this into details, and we wouldn't just use the concept of demand and supply. Like I said, we'll be trading smart money concepts. So we'll be utilizing a whole bunch of different concepts, imbalances, right, liquidity. And then most of the time we'll be talking about liquidities and then order blocks and then demand and supply, those three things, right? So yeah, at this place, we saw that at this place, this was actually our confirmation, if you guys can see this, right? And then price came, took out our stop loss, and then went back into our direction. Now, what is the purpose of trading with demand and supply? We trade with demand and supply because they actually follow the footprints of what, the big banks. Now, when we say big banks, to be honest, I don't know if this demand and supply is a strategy that is being used by the big banks, because I actually did some sort of research and I realized that big banks and these hedge funds, they mostly use fundamentals, right? They look at the whole economy, and then they look at things going on, and then they predict the market in advance based on what is going on, right? So news and some sort of things about to happen and all those things. So I don't know if they use this, but yeah, we claim this to be an institutional trading standard. That's fine, right? So this is a basic break and a retest, right? If you guys can click, I mean, a break where we were basically expecting a retest on this, and then price what dropped, right? And then went back into our direction. I mean, went back into what, an opposite direction. So we're expecting what, price to go down. And then this probably tapped into some level around the side. That was basically why we had this reversal. Okay. Now, when it comes to trading demand and supply, I'm gonna just suggest that most of you guys know about this concept, because I actually said that you guys should watch this video, right? If you haven't watched this video, you can actually watch this after the lesson. Okay. Right. So this right, this is demand and supply, right? So this is just a supply zone where we're expecting to sell. We're expecting a sell, right? And this is an area where we'll be what, placing our sell orders. And then basically we're placing our sell orders because of this what, momentum or this spike. Now let me explain this. This spike happened because we had a lot of orders around this area, right? That was why price left this region this strong. Now, once price leave this region this strong, price is creating what, a supply zone for us to what, take advantage of what, the market. So what do we do around this area? We wait for price to pull back to this area, and then we do what? We sell. All right. So this area, once price leave this area with a very strong candlestick, then this area is going to be what? A supply zone. Price leaves the supply zone for us to take advantage of this trade. So we actually notice in the next slide that when price actually got to this level, price did what? Tested the supply zone, and then price dropped, right? Okay, so we have types of demand and supply, right? We actually have 4 types, so 2 for each, right? We have for a demand type, we have a rally-based rally, right? Let me see, which type is this? Yeah, so for a demand type, we actually have a rally-based rally, right? A drop-based rally. And then for a supply type, we have a rally-based drop and then a drop-based drop. Now, what do I mean by this? This is what I actually mean, right? A drop-based rally, a drop-based rally. This is one of the type, a drop-based rally. And this is actually a demand type. So we have price coming down, creating a brief, bear in mind, when it comes to demand and supply, right? When you have a lot of consolidations around this region is not termed as what? Your demand zone. A demand zone has to be brief, right? Look at this. Let's look at this in real scenario. Do you think, what do you think causes price to go down and all of a sudden reverses, right? There's obviously going to be what? We have a lot of orders coming in. Sellers are going down, and then all of a sudden price goes down. Meaning buyers what? have what entered the market, and this they have a lot of orders that was able to reverse this. If price or if we didn't have a lot of buy orders, you realize that price will do something like this and keep going down, right? But once you have this sharp reversal, this is what a demand zone. So a demand zone is not a zone that has a lot of consolidations, right? Like this is not a demand zone, right? It has to be boom, boom. And then bear in mind that since I'm saying a quick reversal doesn't mean every turning point is going to be what a demand zone. If you've actually watched the video, you realize that we have things that we actually look out for before we what take our zones out as what our demand zones, right? Okay, so the next slide, this is just an example of the types, right? A drop based rally, right? A drop based rally. Look at how price left this region, right? And then you take a trade. Okay, so I'm not gonna be going through all this, right? Because I'm just gonna suggest you guys have already watched the videos, right? Like I said, this is just an intro, right? It's not gonna be like a whole course. It's just an intro, right? So if you have any questions on the demand and supply, just let me know, right? Because I'm just gonna move straight to this place. This place is actually what we need to focus on when it comes to demand and supply, right? So if you have any questions, just let me know. Okay, so this slide says how to find what quality demand and supply zones. Now, the first type that we're going to be looking for, or we're going to be looking at, is what the strength of the move. Okay, so if for demand zone, we actually need to see a very strong move, right, away from that zone. So if price is going up, we have this zone. Price needs to what move far away from what this zone. Once price move like this, and this zone is termed as what our demand zone. I mean our supply zone. Sorry. Okay, so we have the move has to be what a very strong move to the downside. Right? We had a supply zone here. We had a very strong move to the downside, right? We had another price going back up, another strong move to the downside, price reacting to this supply zone that we have right here. If price should go back and get to this side, you actually see a rejection of this. Right? It's also an example. We saw a very strong move to the downside, right? And then price retraces back to this demand zone. Same thing here, right? A very strong move to the downside, price retraces to this demand zone. All right, so this is a different type. This wait, hold on. I think I'm on the wrong slide. Hold on. Okay, so the next thing that we're gonna be talking about is we're gonna be talking about okay, so we're gonna be talking about the freshness of the zone. Okay, I don't know if you guys understand what the freshness of the zone actually means. All right, so the freshness of the zone actually means that if, right, you have a zone, if you have your demand zone, right? Let me actually use BTC. What's BTC USD? Right, if we have this as our demand zone, right, and then price hasn't visited this region, right, then this is what's a fresh zone. Meaning, if price should come to this region, you should expect price to what? Go back up, right? This is what the freshness of the zone means. Once price visit this zone, then this zone is not fresh. So if price should come back into this zone, right, we can actually have price breaking, or we can have price going back up, right? But always fresh zone first, right? If the zone is fresh, you pick the zone. If the zone is not fresh, you don't pick the zone. Right, these are examples, right? You have a zone, price visit the zone for the first time, you see a very strong push to the upside. Second time, third time, you actually see that price is sort of slowing down at this area, right? Meaning price is trying to break this. And then look, like I said, this is just an intro, right? Once we talk about smart money concepts and other things, you actually, there's a whole bunch of things to learn. Just, stay tuned and then just watch. Okay. There is something that you have to also take into consideration, right? When it comes to it says break out of the previous support and resistance levels. Now let's use this as an example, right? So if I have a demand zone, right? If I have a demand zone like this, and let's say we had a level around the side, which price broke this level. Okay. Once price break this level, price comes back here and then price goes up back up, right? It's saying the break of the previous resistance and support level. Now, when it comes to trading trend, what do we look for? We look for what? This is what we look for when it comes to trading what? Trend. We look for this place being what? Our resistance, right? Resistance get broken, becomes support. Now, when it comes to trading demand and supply, this level that you see price reacting to this level is probably reacting to what? A level around this area. And most of the time, what we actually see is that we see price retracing all the way to this side, right? So instead of price reacting to this high, you see price reacting to this one, right? And then people will just put something here like this and then have their stop loss, their entry here, stop loss here, right? This is what most people actually do. Stop loss like this and then like this. But if you're actually trading with demand and supply, you actually realize that your entry is supposed to be on this demand level that we have right here, meaning you'll be saving this side, right? About 20 pips or something, I don't know. All right, so you'll be saving this, and then your entry will be here instead of what? This side. So, and it also says the break of the previous resistance. So once you have a break of this resistance, then you have a very strong confirmation that price will what? Will reverse around this area. But if price is doing this, and then you don't have any break of this resistance, right? Then this side is not really a strong zone to what? To look for buy regions. I mean buy positions. But once price, right, break this level, then this zone will be what's a good place to be looking for buy trades because we have a break of this previous what? Resistance. Okay, I hope this side makes sense. All right. From this side, I think let me see if there's anything that we have to go through. Okay, so yeah, I'm just gonna explain this without. So it says the minimum risk reward, right? So basically, what this is saying is when it comes to demand and supply trading, right? It's mostly 1 to 3. Okay, so you have a zone like this. Whatever pips that you have here, right? If this is 10 pips, your take profit is gonna be what? 30 pips. So basically, you risk 10, make 3. I mean 30, 1 to 3, right? So if I'm risking whatever thing that I'm risking here, my take profit is supposed to be 3 times this. And most of the time I actually get hit, right? But if you want to go 1 to 5, that's fine. Unless you know what you're doing. If you know what you're doing, then that's fine. But sometimes it's a go 1 to 3 and then it will just reverse. All right, all of a sudden. And then this side too, the risk reward ratio. Let's see. So also, if you have a zone here, right, the move that goes up before it comes back down to test this demand zone has to be 3 times the risk. So if I have a demand zone here, price goes all the way up, and it's not 3 times this demand zone, you shouldn't take this trade. All right, it has to be 3 times this trade. Then you look for what? A retracement, and then you do what? You buy. Okay, I hope this makes sense. Right, we had a zone around this area where we are looking to buy from. Right, you can actually realize that this whole move to this side is more than 3 times this. So which gives us what? A strong confirmation that this is a very strong zone to what? Buy from. Now, if I should choose this zone as my demand zone, right? Bear in mind, this is not 3 times. This move is just not 3 times of this, right? So this zone is not strong for price to reverse that. I hope this makes sense, right? Okay, let's see. Right, so this is going to be all for demand and supply trading. The rest is in the video that I sent out. You guys can actually check it out, right? I'm just gonna send it again, all right? But what I'm gonna be doing right now is I'm just gonna be taking questions, and then I'm just gonna be breaking down what I think for this week. Just a few pairs that I'm looking at, right? I'm not looking at a lot of pairs, just a few pairs. So do you guys have any questions?
Yes, I do have a little bit of a question.
Yeah, I'm listening.
Yep, please. Yeah, the question is where to draw the demand and supply zones. Because I've been watching the videos, but sometimes I get a bit confused. So I don't know.
So your question is, where do you draw your demand and supply zones?
Yes, please.
Okay, so let's look at something. Okay, let me see if I can see a different pair. Okay.
Or not necessarily where to, but when you think is the right time
Time frame.
where is the yes, please.
Okay, so the best time frame to be looking for supply and demand zones is a 2 hour time frame. This one.
Okay.
Okay, so once you switch, this is what you actually do. It depends, right? We have something called swing trading. So every time, look at something. When it comes to structures, okay, if I'm on the 1 minute time frame and I see a demand zone, okay, your take profit should be on the one based on that 1 minute time frame demand zone. Because on a high time frame, maybe putting your take profit at this side, there might be what a level around this side, which this will probably not get to this side and then go all the way up, test some level around this side before going back into your entry, right? So if you're analyzing on the 1 minute time frame, you should be very, very careful, and then you should be looking at issue, know what you're doing before you analyze on the 1 minute time frame. Now, where to draw demand and supply levels? Usually, it depends. Like I said, it depends on which type of trader that you are. I'm trying to swing trade. So usually I start with the daily time frames. Once you start with the daily time frame, you see things clear, right? I'm seeing my first demand zone, which is this order block that I have right here. On a lower time frame, you actually refine your entries and find that perfect demand zone. Because on a demand zone, once you have this consolidation happening, right, your first line is going to be at where the momentum started. Do you get this part? So if price is doing this and doing this and doing this, and then you have a push to the upside, your first level is going to be here. This is going to be your entry where the push started. And then where you have this turning point, right? It's going to be your stop loss. And then where the move actually started is going to be your what is it called? Your entry. So if you actually look at this trade that I let me go back. So if you actually check this straight out, right? We had a very strong push to the upside. You can go to any time frame, just find where the strong push actually started, right? With this, you can actually find, where you might put if you're actually looking, you might put your entry at this side, but this is not supposed to be your entry. It's supposed to lie in between this. So the best thing to do is if you can find where the momentum actually started, just look at this. I have smaller candlesticks, smaller candlesticks. This next is actually pretty big, and then it goes with this zone that I have right here. So I'm just gonna pick this as what my demand zone, right? Or you can actually adjust this however you want to do it. Just pick where you have that consolidation part. right? And then you can clearly see that price came into this region, tapped into this region, and then went up. Once price goes up, now bear in mind, price hasn't taken our price hasn't got to this side. And then we can actually see that if price retraces back to this level, what do we see? Price is not taking out these lows, meaning this level can get what? Taken out. Okay, do you remember the last when we were talking about the demand and supply, right? It says the freshness of the zone. So one touch, once this happens, boom, you're done. Find a different one, right? Don't still expect price to hit this level. Price can actually go back from this level, right? But you just want to follow the rules. Once price hit your point of interest, that's it. Look for different demand and supply level. I hope this makes sense, right?
Yep.
Okay. So the best time frame to find demand and supply is actually the 2 hour time frame. So you just switch to the 2 hour time frame. It will actually give you, and like I don't know, to be honest, we don't really have like a specific time frame. You just switch until you find that nice area. Look at this. So imagine I was on the weekly time frame. I can't really see anything. Switch 8 hour time frame. I'm not really seeing. So 8 hour time frame looks really nice. We have this level and then we have a very strong push to the upside, indicating that what we have a lot of orders around this area. Now I'm trying to adjust my entry. That is where I move to lower time frames to adjust what my entries. I can actually take this all the way down to this side, right? And then say that this never got tested, but this is actually what the test. So I'll take my entry from this side. And then when we actually start talking about smart money concepts, right? We will look at how we'll find perfect entries around this area, right? So that we risk less instead of risking this whole zone. And then also proofs or tells us if this zone is actually valid, right? To take our entry, which we'll be doing this on the lower time frame, looking at how structures look like. But since we are not talking about that right now, right, we're just gonna focus on just basic demand and supply. And this rejection actually looks very nice for what a buy trade. So you can actually just wait, for like 2 or 3 candlesticks. Usually around this time frame, you don't really have a lot of things happening. So you just, monitor structures and look at how prices playing out around this area, right? Once you have this nice push, boom, take your entry here, and then a buy trade. Okay. All right. Any more questions? Or okay, so this is actually a different pair that I was also looking at, right? I'm looking for a very long-term buy trade on this. Okay, and then my prediction was actually on this demand zone that we have right here. This is actually a rally-based rally, right? We actually had one rally-based rally at this side, which already got mitigated, if you guys can actually see with this. So this zone is not valid anymore, right? That was why when price came to this region, we saw price breaking this zone. This is what I said. If price already tested this zone is not valid anymore. Okay, so price can actually break this. But also, if you guys can actually see, we had this level right here, right? And then this move took out what our previous resistance. So once this previous resistance is taken, then we look for the demand zone that led to this breakout, which is this. On a much lower time frame, you actually realize that this is a very nice demand zone. Let's look at the 1 hour time frame. All right, brief consolidation, push to the upside. So I picked this demand zone. We had price coming to this demand zone, making a very strong move to the downside. So what is our next move? We'll be looking for what? Buy areas, and the best place to be buying is what? Right on this demand level. We might also have a demand level sitting inside this level, right? So what I'll actually be looking for is I'll be looking for something like this to actually happen, something like this. Boom, 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 right? Creating what? Liquidity around this area. Once we have liquidity around this area, then we can look for price to take our stop losses, coming to our point of interest, and then go back up. Okay. Once this liquidity is being taken care of, then we can actually expect price to hit this level and go back up. Now, the last pair that I'm going to be talking about is the Euro AUD, right? So basically with this, I was just using basic correlations, right? So since I'm buying this, then this also looks like what a very nice sell trade that we can actually take advantage of. And then let's look at this on the daily time frame and let's look at what we are looking at. So on the daily time frame, we see what a rally base drop, and this is what structure. This is obviously what a supply structure where we can be looking for what sells. This is actually a swing trade. Remember, when price goes down, retrace, goes down, breaks of the what previous what resistance. What do we look for? We look for price retracing to what this supply zone that we have right here. And then what do we expect? This is just what a correction. We expect what another push to the downside. So I'm expecting also another push to the downside since price is actually on what's our point of interest. So this is what I'm actually expecting off this trade. And the move has actually what already happened. So the best thing to do is, just go on the lower time frame. Look for a nice, this is actually a drop based drop, right? This is a supply type. So I'm actually selling from this side. I'm not going to be looking for any type of white off around this area because I'm not going to have time to sit on my what on my chart. So the best thing to do is just set my limit order around this side, have my stop loss here, wait for price to do its thing. I'm just not going to watch this, right? Once price gets to this level, then boom, we are selling. Okay. All right. So I guess this is gonna be it for today. And then if you guys have any questions, you guys can actually ask. And then I think on Wednesday or on Tuesday, one of those days, we're gonna have another section. And then we're gonna start talking about liquidities into details. Okay.
Robert, hi, Parish here.
Yeah, I'm listening.
Do we know when on Tuesday or Wednesday, what time sort of we
Um,
will have this session?
Probably it's gonna be like the same time, I guess. Cause like at this no, on Wednesday. Yeah. So basically I'm about to start school, right? So I'm not really gonna get time to like, be on my chart and texting and having these Zoom calls. So usually I do this on my free time, which is gonna be around midnight and evening sections. So most of our Zoom calls is gonna be around this time to what time? What time is it around your
This is
place?
okay. I mean, it's nearly 11 o'clock at night in London, so but it's fine. This time is fine.
Yeah, so basically it's gonna be around this time.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, it's gonna be around this time.
Thank you.
No problem. And then, like I said, we'll be talking more into details about this type of trading style. And then, like I said, to me, when it comes to trading, structures are always things that we actually need to take note of, right? Structures. When it comes to trading with structure, there's a lot of things that happens, right? Sometimes you actually have a zone around this area that you're looking to buy from, but you realize that price will never get to the zone. Okay, once price doesn't get to the zone, doesn't mean that you shouldn't take advantage of the zones that you have inside or in the middle of this side, right? We have some candlesticks that are actually demand zones candlestick that when you see them, you will obviously see them, right? You see this candle, this doji candlestick, right? So these are demand zones. They are obvious demand zones that when you see them, you should see them. I'm going to show you multiple examples of this type of trading style, right? Let's see if you can actually identify. See this candlestick? Remember, we have a break of the previous resistance. Those are things that you need to look out for. You don't just look for a zone and then just sell. All right. You need to look for the break of the previous resistance and then you sell off that trade.